pleasure right now to welcome to our show today very prolific, successful author, her best-selling author of Jesus CEO. She has a brand new book out now called Jesus Career Counselor, How to Find and Keep Your Perfect Work. And I guess no more better time than the last couple of years to have a book like that come out. We're joined by Laurie Beth Jones today. How are you, Laurie?
I'm just great, Doug. Thank you for having me on the show.
I had a chance to read through the book yesterday and a little bit today. I enjoyed the format of the book. I think it almost feels like you're there talking to the person. I guess that was the idea behind it, right? I mean, face to face.
Exactly. Very conversational and friendly. And when you're talking about your career and your life's work, you don't want someone speaking down at you from a mountaintop. You want someone face to face who's going to be walking with you along the path. So that's what the format was. With the book, and it's kind of the way I write in general.
And more people now, unfortunately, have gone through career changes, some by choice, most not by choice. So I'm sure you're getting a lot of feedback, not only on this book, which just came out, but the previous ones as well, right?
Well, yes, and, just sitting on my front porch last summer, which is when I wrote the book, a gentleman walked by, and I asked how he was doing, my neighbor, and he'd just been laid off along with 200 people from the newspaper where he'd worked 20 years. And so all around me, just, shock and awe of people having major life changes. And, I even have a section in the book, bonus features, how to deal with sudden job loss. One of my best friends got laid off, and she was just a kingpin or queenpin of this industry, and it was just shocking to all of us. People who were at the top of their game, suddenly, boom, you're out of the game. And how do you deal with that? So I deal with that. I talk about family businesses, which 8 out of 10 jobs in this country come from family businesses, which I did not know until I researched it.
Mm.
So how do you deal with that?
You're being fired by your family. That's not easy.
No. I talk about in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were working in a family business.
That's right.
They got fired, and then they had to become self-employed. So there's a lot of humor in the book, and I certainly tell my stories of being involved in real estate in Phoenix and the shock and awe that, when that crashed, and how I had to regroup and rethink my life story and my game plan. And when you put it in context of the biblical characters, King David, who killed Goliath, started out in a family business, and he was working for a king, and then he got fired, became homeless and unemployed, and then, just staying faithful to his calling, then was called back into the kingship. So it's never about finding a job. It's about vocare, responding to your life's calling, and then staying fulfilled in that.
I think you're seeing more people nowadays going back to maybe if they had a hobby, if they did on the side, now that they get laid off, let's make that into a business if we can. I guess that's the thought now, isn't it?
Yes, and I talk about the 12, what I call the 12 dreams of the Holy Spirit, and there's 12 verbs that go with the 4 elements of earth, water, wind, and fire.
Mm-hmm.
And with fire, you need to rise, risk, and roar. And like water, you need to renew, reflect, restore. And like earth, you need to remain, return, and regenerate. And like the wind, you need to revive, rejoice, and release. And Doug, what you were saying about returning, return is mentioned, that word is mentioned 568 times in the Old Testament, 148 times in the New Testament. So there's a theme in the Bible of calling us to return to our first love, return to our faith, return to our homelands, return to the God of our ancestors. And so it's really a theme in all of us, and or for all of us. So just the notion, I thought that was really great that you picked up on that. Many people are returning to the dreams of their childhood.
Yeah, I've been through layoffs, particularly in this business and other types of work too. But you see so many people now just so fed up, even if they have a job, they just kind of go in and collecting a check. And somewhere along the line, the whole corporate world went a little haywire there. You really weren't doing work you enjoyed. I guess people are getting back to trying to find at least some. I mean, you're not going to enjoy every aspect of every job. That's unrealistic. But you should enjoy your work, shouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. I talked to a man last week who has 2 sons. One of them became an attorney like him, and he admitted that he just hates his job. He's a very successful litigator, and his dad says, why, son? And he said, because when I win, I put someone out of business. And he has another son who is a high school counselor and just loves what he does. And I also talk about the elemental personality types, that perhaps his high school counselor son was a water type who automatically knew that he wanted to be about nurturing relationships. And it could be that his elder son was a fire who wanted to achieve status and make his father proud. And yet that's not fulfilling for him in the long run. So you really need to understand how you're wired to know how you're going to be in your element, literally. When we say someone is in their element, it means that they're just swimming along like a fish in water. And that's the way I believe the workplace needs to be. But in order to do that, we need to know what our element is, and we need to figure out some parameters about what we've been called to do.
And there's nothing worse, too, Laurie Beth, when you're in an office setting and there's always that person that's always complaining how they hate their job. It affects the other people that may like their job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, statistics show that half of all people at work don't like their jobs, and 80% of them are not allowed or able to use their highest strengths or gifts in the workplace. So to me, that's a tremendous misery index, like you're saying, that the ripple effect it just goes on, sometimes for generations.
Well, you tell a great story in the book. We won't do the whole thing now, but you mentioned before about doing real estate, and when they were doing the flipping of houses a few years ago, it kind of affected you in a personal way, didn't it?
Yes, it did. I call that my reflection, or the mirror moment. In drama, there's always or quite often a scene where the lead character has to face him or herself in the mirror. And I did that when I had flipped a house, not knowing the tenants really, because I had a number of them, and my secretary said, you just need to go out there. And I went out there, and it was a woman in a wheelchair, and their son was clearly a special needs child, and then the husband walked in, and he was blind in one eye and limping, and I just felt so terrible, Doug, and I tried to stop the sale, but it was already in escrow, and they were going to sue me if I tried to. So I took a tithe of that check, and I went back to try to help this family, and they were gone and had left no forwarding address. And I remember standing in the August heat in Phoenix with sweat dripping down my back and holding up a mirror and thinking, is this the person that my father wanted me to be? Is this the type of work that my father wants me to be doing? And I just knew that it wasn't. And I never have done it again. Never have done it since. So the mirror moment is for all of us, I think, to say, I talk about the word spiritpreneur, which is a word I made up. And a spiritpreneur can answer yes to these three questions. I am doing work that honors God. I am doing work that honors myself, my gifts and my talents, and I'm making a living full-time doing all of the above. And when you can say yes to those three questions, then you're really in alignment. You're really a spiritpreneur, and you're going to be fulfilled.
Are you optimistic, Laurie Beth? Are things are starting to turn around, at least job-wise? Do you think more people are going back to this thought?
Absolutely. The numbers are reflecting that. I'm in Phoenix as we speak, and I'm seeing sold signs, and people are starting to build again. And yes, it's still a difficult time, but it's like the ocean. The tide goes in, but the water doesn't go away. The tide goes out, but it doesn't go away. It's always going to come back. So how long it takes to come back, nobody knows. But if you're prepared and you don't build on sand too close to the shoreline, you should be okay.
Well, it's a great book. It's called Jesus Career Counselor, How to Find and Keep Your Perfect Work. Laurie Beth Jones has been our guest. Laurie Beth, you have a website you want to direct people to?
Yes, to my name, lauriebethjones.com, LaurieBethJones.com, or JesusCEO.com will also take you there. And we have training programs and people who can counsel and coaches, and so we've just got really 300 people all around the world that can help people find and keep their perfect work.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, have a chance to read through the book, and if you're ever down this way in Sarasota, we'd love to have you in the studio sometime. Thanks for being with us.
All right, Doug, thank you so much, and blessings to all the Floridians.